Okay, so today we're doing section 3.4, classifications of rigid motions.
Are we doing the whole packet?
Yes, not that much. Okay, any rigid motion is either a translation, reflection, rotation, or a glide reflection. We have done translation, reflection, rotation. Yes? We haven't done a glide reflection. Well, what do you think of glide reflection as a combination?
A slide and a flip.
Yeah, so math words would be a translation and a reflection. Okay, so we have over here, it says if M is a rigid motion and they give you a picture, then M, the new thing, the result, is either a reflection over L or a translation or a rotation or a translation reflection. Now, which one of these do I do first? Do I do the translation first or the reflection first? The reflection, because it's a composition. Is that open circle? So I do this one first, and then my answer, I do that one too. Okay? So when we solve them, we'll do the translation and the reflection. We kind of do it backwards, just like anything else. So we have any rigid motion can be expressed as a composition of reflection, and then that's right here, our composition right here. So they have, if M is a rigid motion, then M equals reflection over L, or M equals the reflection over L composed with reflection over M, or do you see how I can keep adding compositions to this?
Yeah.
Yes. And what I would do, what I would do on these is I always start on the furthest right and take it and do this and put my answer into here and my answer into here. I work my way backwards, just like parentheses, you work from the inside out, right? So it's basically we're working from the furthest to the right out. So we need to figure out, it says describe a glide reflection. What is the glide reflection that maps JKL to J double prime, K double prime, L double prime? So that means there was something in the middle, right? Something in the middle that we don't have here. I'm on the wrong page. Am I not on the wrong page?
This is the second page.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm like, wait a second, we shouldn't be there yet.
Gosh, man.
You guys didn't say you're on the second page.
Well, I just flipped something.
I just saw you mix them around.
No, I'm sorry. We're going to get there. Let's start with the beginning. Okay, the composition of two or more rigid motions is a rigid motion. Make sense? So if I translate and reflect, that's still a rigid motion because I'm preserving what two things? What's being preserved?
Size.
Same length.
Angle.
Angle measurement. Same length and angle measurement. So they show you here, this is the composition. So what did I do? I reflected it first to get here, yes?
Yeah.
Over this line that is exactly centered between, right? We remembered that after yesterday. And then we did what?
You rotated it.
And then I rotated
And
it.
then you flipped it.
Well, this would be a reflection here. That would just be a reflection, and this would be a rotation, right?
Yeah.
But my picture looks funny because it stretches it out on here. But on your paper, it should look better. I hate how it does that. I don't know why. So let's go back to the beginning rather than jumping at the middle. Okay, is there a rigid motion that maps A, B, C to A prime, B prime, C prime? Are these exactly the same shape?
Yeah.
Side length, angles, so the answer should be what? Yes. Okay, so that's our answer is yes. Is it just one?
What?
It says, does a reflection, translation, rotation map A to A prime?
It's
Would be two, wouldn't
Is it just one of those things? No, it's not just one of those things. It's not just one, is it? What would it be?
Two.
Like, what would they be?
Uh,
It would be what?
reflection and rotation.
Oh yeah.
Or no, it'd be
Translation.
It would be a
instead of
translation
rotation.
and a reflection.
Yeah. I was
Okay, it would be a translation and a reflection. Bless you. So it's not just one, it would be two, because I couldn't do one rigid motion and get it over there, could I? Okay, so when before we had a composition of two things, we made it one because they were both translations, so we could make it just one. We can't do that with this, can we? We're going to have two, we do. So what is the composition of the rigid motions? So what I want to look at is, let's see, what do you want to do, reflection or translation first?
Reflection.
Reflection, okay, so it's a reflection over what?
A, B, C,
What's the line of reflection?
X.
X equals what?
Y.
Because if it was the x-axis, this triangle would be pointing down. It's not pointing down, is it?
No.
So it's not the x-axis.
Y.
It's the y-axis. So if it's the y-axis,
No, it's
then it
like
should be
negative
exactly between. Is
It's
the
like-
y-axis?
It's like
Is the y-axis exactly between these two pictures?
No.
No. Bree, are you raising your hand or searching?
I'm searching.
Okay, Connor,
it's like the diagonal one. I don't remember what it's called.
you think it's a diagonal? Jaden, what do you think it is?
-1.
Why do you think it's -1?
That's wait, that's
Because if I do a negative 1,
that equals
I'm
the
2 to
sign.
this C, right?
Yeah.
And I'm how many to this C? 2
Oh,
to that C.
I see.
Okay? So my reflection is, what's the equation of a vertical line? Because I gotta say, because it's -1, so how do I say a vertical line at -1? You guys have had to do this. Is it X, Y, what is it?
Y. So it's Y -1.
Well, Y -1 is this.
Or X -1.
X -1, because it doesn't touch the Y, does it?
Yeah.
So X equals -1 is my reflection. Everyone see that? Because -1 is exactly in between. And if it was diagonal, I'd find the horizontal and vertical and divide them by 2, right? Okay, so what's the translation? How would I get C to get to this position? Because I'm going to reflect it to get it to here, right? So how would I get this C to here? Down. So am I going to move it left or right any?
No.
No. So that's going to be 0, right, for X?
Yeah.
Because that tells me what my X is doing, right?
Yeah.
What's my Y doing?
Going down.
Doing how much down?
5.
-5, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, but down would be the negative. Yep. Okay. So I have 2 motions that happen there. Now I have to write it as a composition. And so we have T of 0, -5, composed with R of Y. What's wrong with that?
It needs to be an X.
It needs to be X, not Y, right? X equals -1 on what? What is the shape that we're moving?
Triangle.
A triangle, what?
A, B,
A, B, C. So if I were to mimic this, I would do the reflection first, correct? So reflect over -1. So here's my, I'm going to change my colors because I got red, we'll put it in blue. So if I reflect ABC over -1, X equals -1, I go 1, 2, so 1, 2, right? And then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, so I go 1, 2, 3, 4, just reflecting it, same distance on both sides, right? 1, 2, so 1, 2.
You have to make it.
So this would be A prime, C prime, B prime, yes?
yeah.
What was your question?
You have to draw that.
Well, you might want to, just so you can see it. I'm just showing you. We're checking our work, okay? Then it says do what? What does our work say to do?
Translate.
Translate. So do nothing with our x's, right?
Yeah.
And do what with our y's?
Go
Down 5. So let's see. So I go A prime, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, I labeled my triangle wrong. Didn't I label my triangle wrong?
Yeah.
This should be what?
A and C.
C. And this should be A. I labeled it as a translation, didn't I? Okay. So down 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I get this C double prime?
Yeah.
Okay. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I get A double prime? Yep. And B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I get my B double prime? Yes. So, did I figure out the right combination?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what you're going to be doing today. Okay. So, we have the composition of a reflection. Followed by a translation. In a direction parallel to the line of reflection is a rigid motion kind called a, anybody guess? Because I already told you. Anybody guess? Glide. Oh, reflection. Do you guys like it better like this, where I'm filling in exactly what you have rather than the PowerPoints?
Yeah.
Do you like that? Okay. It saves me a lot of time. Okay, so the quadrilateral VSTV, the RSTV, has vertices at -3, 2, 0, 5, 4, -4, 0, -2. Use the rule T, what does T stands for? Translate 1, 0, composed with R of the x-axis, right? Okay, so let's graph it first so we can see what we're doing. Does that sound good? Okay, so -3, 2, and 0, 5. And then 4, -4, and 0, 2. Wait. Oops, that one was close. Oh, better. So it is definitely some weird quadrilateral shape, right? What makes it a quadrilateral?
4 sides.
4 sides. Okay, so I need to reflect it over the x-axis first, correct? This one first. So when I reflect over the x-axis, what do I do? A reflection over the x-axis of xy is what rule? Think about it. If I take something from the top of the graph to the bottom of the graph, what would change?
The negative.
Negative what?
Negative y.
The negative y. Everyone see that? If I was up here and reflected over the x-axis, it would only change the y, wouldn't it? It wouldn't change the x. So my rule here is x what?
Negative y.
Negative y. Oh, I should have labeled my vertices, huh? So I have R, S, T. Hopefully you guys did.
I
Okay. So, bless you. R prime is going to be what?
negative 3, negative,
-3, -2, what?
because you have to change the y to negative.
You have to change the y to the negative. You have to do the opposite sign, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so S. I want you guys to do S, see if you get it. S prime, excuse me, not S. Yes, Cole.
0, -5.
0, -5?
Yeah.
Okay. T prime. Who wants to do T prime? Tyson.
4, -4.
4 is right, but what's my rule
4.
say? What?
4.
4, because I have a negative, right?
You got
And a
some.
negative times a negative is a positive.
Negative.
Okay? Nicole?
E is 0.
0, 2. Okay, so now I've got the first part of it, right? So we've reflected it all. You guys want me to tentatively put that or no?
No,
No? Okay, I won't. Okay, so now I've done my reflection. I have to go to my
translation.
translation. So what does my translation say I'm going to do?
The x is 1.
Is this where you add the 1 and the 0?
Yes. So this would be x plus 1, comma y, wouldn't it? So, Nicole, I'm going to pick on you again. Our double prime is going to be what?
The double for R.
Yes.
You add none to the. You add 1, so it would be -2, negative.
-2 what?
2.
Yes. -2. -2, -2? Okay. Cole?
Can I do S?
Okay. S double prime, Cole?
It would be 1, -5.
Yes, because I'm adding 1. So did yesterday help us with today?
No, I already knew it.
Some of us didn't. Connor, T prime, T double prime.
1, 2.
1, 2? No.
5, 4.
Or, oh, T, sorry, 5, 4, yeah. I was looking at V. Sorry. I was doing V.
Carly,
And when
V
you said
double
that-
prime.
1, 2.
1, 2.
I got that one right.
So if I did another one, what would it be? It'd be
Double,
V
double, double.
triple prime, right? It just means I did different things with it. So now let's graph it and see what we get. Okay, so R is -2, -2. 1, -5.
Label it.
I will when I'm done. I like to label them outside. So, but do remind me to label it. Because if I label them before, sometimes they're inside and then I gotta erase it and it's all a mess. Now, it almost looks like just a reflection, right? What's the one thing that makes it that it's not a reflection? It's not rotated. It's translated. It's because if it was just a reflection, our double prime would be right here, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And it's not. It's translated over 1 unit. Okay, now let's go to the second page.
I thought this was going to be fast.
Hmm?
I thought this was supposed to be fast. Can we not go through that stuff again?
Okay, I'm just real quick. I won't go as slow as I did before. Okay, so this theorem just tells me that any rigid motion can be a combination of other rigid motions. That's all this says. And the second part says I can put as many rigid motions as I want together, correct? And I work from the right to the left. That's all. Sorry that we did it twice. Okay, determine the glide reflection for JKL. So now we have to write the rule. The last one gave us the rule and said do it. Now we've got to figure it out. So, I typically do the translation first.
So
I
you
do it
figure out your
opposite.
line.
Okay, it really doesn't matter. Because we do the reflection, then the translation when we do it. So I do it backwards when I find it. But it doesn't, if you see it, it shouldn't matter. Okay, so let's look at our translation. So my translation, I'm going from obviously K to K double prime, yes? So how far over horizontally did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I did that 5 here, so I'm temporarily here, so that means I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for J, wouldn't it? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for L. Does that match them all up? Or I could reflect at this point. Yeah. Okay. Now I would have to pay attention because I may be translating down also. Yes, like I could do a horizontal and a vertical. But this one I think I can reflect and do that without doing
If
both.
you reflected it, wouldn't the one on the y-axis be the L?
No, because if you reflected it and then.
If I'm going to reflect it down. So the J and the J are going to line up. You're thinking reflecting it like
Yeah.
I'm looking because my shape turned upside down. I'm going to be reflecting over a y equals line, not an x equals line. Because if it was up, you would be, but we're not. We changed the direction. Okay, so we need to find the middle there, don't we? Well, our J double prime and L double prime are at 4, and our J prime and L prime are at -2. What would be the middle? 1. So if I did 1, so that tells me I've got 1, 2, 3 up, right? And then 1, 2, 3 down. So everyone good with that? Okay, so we had the translation first of all. We did the translation of what? We just went right 5. So how do I write that? It's 5,
0.
5, 0. Because I have 5 on my x's and 0 on my y's. Yes? And then what was my reflection?
1.
So my reflection is it an x or y line? Y line, because it hits the y-axis, right? The horizontal line at y equals what? 1. What are we moving?
Triangle.
Triangle called.
JKL.
Now, can I check? How can I check if I'm right?
You could do it.
I can do this and make sure it happens, right? So first of all, it tells me I need to reflect everything over y equals 1. So I'm gonna erase everything we did over here, just because there's a lot. How's that sound? Okay. So I'm first gonna do it over y equals 1. So y equals 1 is right here. So I'm 2 up on my k. I need to go where? 2 down. This is k prime. And I'm 3 down on J and L, so I need to go 3 up. So 1, 2, 3 is J prime. and 1, 2, 3 is L prime. So now I'm lined up with my double primes already, right? And now I need to do what with all my,
Translation, so slide up.
so I need to slide 5 to the right. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 puts L right there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 puts it right there. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 puts me right there. So would it be a bad idea to check your work?
Yes.
Totally horrible idea.
Always. Okay. So what is the glide reflection that maps each of the following? I like to graph them so I can see it, because when I just look at the points, it doesn't help me very much. Like if I just look at those points, can you like, I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
It's easy
Okay.
to just look at the points and graphing it.
So A, B, C. Let's graph A, B, C. So -3, 4. And -4, 2. And -1, 1.
Or -3, 4 of these. Never mind, I went the other way.
Oops. Okay, so this is A, B, C. And then I've got 1, 1, right? 2, -1. And -1, -2. So it was A, and I'm going to put double prime because we know there's more than one, correct? They put prime, but I know it's
What do you see first? The translation or reflection?
What was that?
You want to do the reflection first or translation first?
Neither. Translation.
Translation?
I kind of study neither.
No, we're just on A. We have to write the rule. We just did it. Okay, you guys want to do translation?
Yeah.
Okay, so translation is what? A to A would be 1, 2, 3. Yes? And B would be 1, 2, 3. And C would be 1, 2, 3. So what's our translation? 3. So our translation is going to be T of what? How am I going to write down 3?
0, 3.
0, 3. Because 0 on the X's,
Maybe -3?
because down, right? 0 on the X's and down. So if I move everything down, see if I see 3. So if I move everything down 3, right? 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Now what am I reflecting over?
X.
Y.
-1.
Or, oh, you
If C and C double prime are exactly the same,
-1.
I've got to be reflecting over that line, don't I? What? What's your equation for that line?
X equals -1.
X equals -1 because it's a vertical line, right? So I have reflection of X equals -1. Now does everyone see that? C and all the C's ended up, it didn't move with that reflection, did it? Remember, if a point doesn't move, that is the line of reflection. So my composition then would look like what? How would I write it?
You would go T, the translate,
Yeah, T, the translation first, right?
the circle, and your
Composed of R, X minus 1,
then your
Parentheses.
Then your parentheses with the triangle of A, B, C. You're done.
yeah, So having that picture helps, doesn't it?
No, not at all.
Now, I can look, now that I have my rule, if I go back and look at C, you see that -3 there and that at the Y? Do you see it? And that it's -3, like if I subtracted 3, I could see it. Now the only thing, and can you see it on the rest of them? Can you subtract 3 and get there? So 4 to 1 is -3, and 2 to -1 is -3. Okay. But that, and then you'd have to figure out your movement from X. I would notice that this X and this X are the same, aren't they? So that should be my line of reflection, shouldn't it? So there are hints up in just those points, but was it much easier to graph it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it again. One more time, and this is it.
Feel like I've done this 20 times.
You've done it twice.
With a 0.
Okay,
Twice with a 0 after.
so this is just a line, a segment, right? So it's only 2 points. So we have R at -2, 4. And we have S at 2, 6.
But I really put S as 8 -2.
Yeah, you're gonna have to add 2 dots. I didn't pay attention when I put my graph up there. I'm like, oh yeah, this one will work again, and it won't work.
Yeah, I kind of like
Okay, so then we have, we moved to 4, 0, right? And 8, so 8 would be 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2. So this is R prime, S prime. Or double prime, or whatever you all think about it, right? So what do you want to do first? You guys want to do your translation or your reflection? Translation. Translation is easier to see, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's a lot easier to see. Okay, so
Either feel like when you have it.
when you have it right above it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go translation. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I move it over 6, do I end up right above where I need to be? Okay, so over 6, right 6, is that an X or a Y?
That is a Y.
X.
Right? Be next.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I have translation of 6, 0. Yes? So I'm here and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And here. Okay, this is my R.
You reflect
Prime.
it over 2.
How did you get that so quick?
Because, oh wait, no you don't. Wait.
Yeah, because it's
Because
two.
I-
It's
Because
two from
2 is exactly in the middle of the 2 R's, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I took these 2 R's, that's 4 minus 0 is 4, right? Divided by 2 is what? 2. Okay, now let's do this one. If I go the S's, I have 8 minus -2
would be 6. So
would be 10.
wait, what
6,
did you-
or 8 minus a -2.
Oh yeah, 10.
So 8 minus a -2
So we're at
would be
6.
10,
It'd be
divided by 2 is 5.
5. So you go down 5.
So I go down 5. And
Yeah,
that
so
puts
it'd be
me
one.
at what?
1.
No.
Yes. What's 6 to 2? Or 6?
6.
6 minus 5 is 1.
Oh, I did 8.
Yeah.
That should be wrong. That should be a what?
No idea.
It should be a 6. I did 8. For some reason I put 6 up at 8. My brain said 8. It's 6 minus a -2.
Okay, so that'd be 8, and then
So
it'd be
8 divided by 2
is 4.
is 4. So if I go down 4, I end up where?
2.
At 2 again. So my line of reflection is at 2. What is the equation of this line? Horizontal.
Y equals
Y equals 2. Parentheses, and then what do I put next to it?
RS.
RS, and don't forget your segment. Yeah, but it's not really that bad. We went slow to make sure everybody was where we need. Questions, guys? I think everyone just needs a nap.
I am tired. I didn't go to the
What did we just done?
I'm